So you had mentioned, I think your family has a history in healthcare,
Yep.
and you decided not to go into it. I have the same thing. My dad is
Yeah.
a surgeon. My mom is a nurse, hospice nurse. And while I grew up with a very high touch, patient care, I
Yeah.
I didn't want to go into healthcare. What led you to not follow what your family's I was going to say your upbringing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So my dad was a surgeon as well, actually. And so he's since retired, but I saw growing up, we moved different places. And I mean, we're all imperfect human beings. And he's not either, but there's a lot of great things about him. And in his journey in healthcare, he would wind up, by no fault of his own, working in places where the healthcare systems were really broken. And I just saw how stressful it was. And, we'd move around different places because he would stick to his own morals and then wind up leaving one healthcare system to go to another and then find that it's also broken. And I mean, it's really an admirable job. And, there's certainly people who do well in healthcare, but anyone who's in healthcare always tells you like, oh, don't get into this for the money. And I mean, it's hard to believe because, I think of doctors and I think, stability and they are comfortable and do well. And that's certainly attainable. But there's a degree of that that's outside your control.
Yeah.
And in certain ways, he was dealt not the best hand while doing a lot of the right things. And I never found myself gravitating towards that path.
Yeah.
So, in addition to that, I also had a little bit of diagnosed ADD through school. So, healthcare is also, especially to become a doctor, very academically demanding.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of school. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of making no to little money before you come out and start making good money while you're also, with very rare exceptions, saddled with some massive debt.
Yeah.
And I never saw that as an attractive endeavor, at least to me. And I think that's part of, it's funny. You hear so much about ADD and ADHD and its context in the business world. And it's something that if people figure out how to harness and use productively, I mean, it's just a slightly different way in which your mind works.
Yeah.
And so that never did me well in school. I'd always have great test scores and then very mediocre grades. And then in sales, it was perfect, especially
Yeah.
the short sales cycle things that I was engaged in. It's like, oh, this has some immediate gratification, high dopamine, and a lot of things catch on fire. And when everything's on fire, that's when I tend to do the best. So it can be troublesome with things such as doing laundry, which are not necessarily urgent or going to hurt anyone. But when you have to do things to help keep other people happy and keep them from being mad as well,
Yeah.
then it makes it a little more urgent and gives you some incentive to figure it out. So I think I always thrived in that environment, partly because of that specific way in which my mind's always worked.
And so, what is great for you, and it's also been a nice byproduct for me, neither one of us ended up going into healthcare, but we were
Yeah.
raised to see, and I did too. My gosh, my dad quit medicine because
Yeah.
Epic charting system came along. He's
Yeah.
old school, wanted to do it
Yep.
his way. He was going to quit, which
Yeah.
so he signed off at the beginning of I think 2001.
Yeah.
But I saw both of my parents struggling with the healthcare system. And I
Yeah.
thought maybe like you, I don't want to go into that, but I want to find a way to help people
Yeah.
feel better
Yeah.
in some way. And so what's great for you is hydrate
Yeah.
and talk about all the different services because there's a myriad of ways for you to, and Sahara,
Yeah.
not to have the mantle of financial responsibility for medical school, but now here you're able to help people like me, founding
Yeah.
member, to feel
Yeah.
better.
Absolutely. And we're so excited now. We have our nurses are not only licensed as they have been before we even met them, but signed off by our franchisor. They're very intentional about the way that they open these spas and see to that they're managed. So we're incredibly fortunate that we found a wonderful franchise. And so now everything is, even though our brick and mortar location is still in the oven, we are able to provide services. So you want to get an IV soon, we actually just had our first IV supplies arrive today. We have the ability to do injections now. And so we're actually capable of providing services already, which we could not be more excited about. And so with everything we do there, it's intended as a spa and it's intended as a wellness product. It's not intended, of course, there's an intrinsic and important medical component to it, but it's not intended to be overtly medical. And what I love about it, like I said earlier, it just allows people to take charge of their own well-being rather than having to wait and be reactive. So we don't even, relative to what's standard in our industry, we don't have a myriad amount of offerings. Like we have a pretty intentional menu.
Yep.
It's very common. And I can only imagine. And so we have just IVs, vitamin injections. And all of our IVs and our nutrients that we do in either of these types of services, there's stuff that's already in your body, with the exception of 2 prescription meds that we use incidentally if someone's not feeling good. So it's also stuff that we don't get enough of. And I mean, if people are nutrient deficient, vitamin deficient, hydration deficient, all of us could drink more water, and we don't eat what our body is designed for. And this allows us to fill in the gaps of what modern life allows us to actually get into our bodies and what our bodies are designed for. And I just think it's really beautiful in a way.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the two of you were on vacation somewhere where you tried
Yes, so
hydration.
that was part of our origin story.